said that that's a challenge to them. They can't meet new demand. So when the business is disrupted by technology and they come to IT and say, hey, can you help me with this great new thing that we need to do? How are we going to tackle that? IT looks and says, I don't have any capacity. We can't do that. We're too busy keeping the lights on. So what happens is the business is going to stop asking. 40% of those respondents said their challenge is the business doesn't even ask IT. They don't even seek them when discussing priorities and capacity. They're either looking outside the organization or they're just throwing at IT to figure it out. And the rest of them figured out, you got 39% of CIOs and director level above saying, it keeps me up at night. The business is moving forward without me as an IT organization. So how does an IT organization tackle that? Well, if you want to be adaptive, then you need to be able to do continuous planning. Something else that we asked in that survey was how adaptive they were as an organization and how important continuous planning was to them. And there was a huge correlation between those who felt continuous planning was important and those who were actually adaptive and could handle new demand as it came into their organization and can support their business. So today, most organizations end up working under the model of annual planning. That's your nod, right? From the business on an annual basis, you spend 6 months creating an annual plan. So you start 6 months before the beginning of the year to create a plan that's not going to finish till 18 months later. How can you adapt to that? You're spending 6 months creating it. And here I am, I'm a finance person. I loved annual planning. I mean, that was my step where I could stop and take a breath and figure out what are we going to do the next year. But that was 10 years ago. Today, you can't do that anymore. There's organizations where 50% of the work that they do and that they need IT to do, 50% of their projects weren't part of the annual plan. They're coming in throughout the year. And annual planning doesn't give you the ability to be able to understand new information that's happening either on the projects that are in flight or those new technologies we heard earlier. We heard that business asked for something and they could now deliver it, and the business was like, why didn't you tell me that you could do that 12 months ago? And the IT person said, because we couldn't. Technology is moving that fast. So if IT's getting new information and the business is getting new information throughout the year, that new information needs to be able to drive decisions in order to take on new projects, reallocate funding to more innovative projects to handle solving real business problems throughout the year, because it's happening more and more and faster. That's agile, that's being adaptable. With Planview Enterprise, what we did was we created continuous planning. We do have some organizations that use it on an annual basis, but they're really not getting the value. Those that are able to do this, they can start doing it continuously. And when they use our process, they're able to move to continuous planning very, very quickly and easily. And they can integrate it and still use it for annual planning. Because annual planning is not going away, but annual planning is a budget. And when your finance people finally figure out that it's okay to reallocate funds and give you those innovation budgets and reallocate your resources, this is what organizations need. IT needs to be able to solve those 3 challenges. If you want to not be worried about overcommitted resources, if you want to be able to be adaptable to your business so that they actually come to you, ask you for feedback of what they should do versus going outside externally to go find somebody else, you need to be able to continuously plan and adapt to the needs of both the business and you yourself as IT. So we created a process that's iterative that you can quickly and easily start using. You rank new demand. Sit down with your business. Create a partnership between IT and the business and rank everything that, whether it's an IT project that you need to do because the technology is outdated and needs to be updated and might have low business value in the short term, but could support some strategic initiatives or innovation ideas in the next quarter. Rank those, prioritize them against each other so that business knows what IT is doing and you as IT knows what are the most important things to the business and what's going to be delivered from those projects. And then analyze it. Create different scenarios of various trade-off decisions. If you've ranked all those projects, you might not actually do all of them 1 through 10, and when you run out of people, not do 11 through 20, because there might be something really small and innovative that you could get done really, really quickly. I actually have a friend of mine who works for a really large retail home improvement organization within the United States. And he's not in IT, he's in the business, and he has a project that has a ROI of $25 million. And he thinks it should take about 4 to 5 weeks of IT's time to get it done. $25 million return on investment. When he went to IT, they told him it takes 18 months to get a project approved. 18 months. Could you imagine being able to pull in that 25 million ROI for 5 weeks worth of work into a portfolio and be able to rank it and see what it looks like against everything else that's already in flight? Forget the 18 months. You can get that project approved and in 2 months start making that money. And that's where IT is not partnering with the business in that situation, and they're letting annual planning drive their processes. And then that number one challenge that's facing IT organizations today of overcommitted resources they're overcommitted and they can't adapt to new priorities. What if you could take those scenarios with those various trade-off decisions and understand where your constraints are and where you might have available resources? If you could actually understand your capacity plan for all of your projects in order of priority, you could actually figure out, I bet that large retailer could figure out where they could slot 5 weeks worth of work in to get $25 million return. What if you could do that all iteratively in a very quick fashion? And then do some comparisons, so before you publish it out to IT to understand those new priorities and reallocate those resources, the business can understand what you're doing. What's going to come out of the portfolio? What are you going to stop working on to take on that new priority? It's hard to say no, but if you want to be an adaptable organization, you have to be able to say yes and no, and be able to offer solutions and not just we say we don't have any capacity. So continuously plan is the key to handling the digital economy. To keep your business from going outside of the organization, you can help your business transform. They'll come to you if they believe that you understand their priorities, and you're working with them to ensure that you're working on investments that are going to lead to the right business outcomes and transform their business. If you can adapt and reallocate funding and resources, then you start solving that challenge of overcommitted resources not being able to take on new demand. I bet most CIOs in the room would love that. And then if you don't want the business to move forward and you want to be able to combine IT with products and have an integrated organization, you can balance and reallocate the resources based on all of those trade-off decisions using real-time data, using real information from projects in flight against the new ideas coming in. You all know it. Some industries already have been dealing with transformation. But regardless of what's happening in the business or what's happening in IT,